gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and we're going over episode 2 of Spider Noir. Now, if you remember last week, Ben Riley, not Peter Parker, used to be the Spider, but then when the woman he loved died, he quit. It's been 5 years later, and he's been being pulled into these weird cases. He's a private eye. Everything constantly leading back to the main gangster, Silvermane, who kind of runs New York. And this is set in the 30s, basically during Prohibition. That'll become important in this episode. So, when we ended, after having a fight with Flint Marko, Cat Hardy then came to Ben's office to hire him to find Flint. He's gone missing. Well, he learns from Cat that this weird turning into sand thing started about 6 months ago, and it's been progressively getting more advanced. More, he's not able to control it. It's constantly happening more and more as time goes on. Uh, Ben suspects she's not telling him everything, but he can't get her to tell. Of course, being a private eye, clients always never give you everything you need. Let's see. Now, Ben goes to check Flint's apartment, and he finds a photo from World War One. This one area of France. Group of soldiers. Flint and Addison are both in the same troop. It comes out later Ben himself was also in that area, though not part of that corps. And then while he's investigating, Winston and some thugs show up. You know, Silvermane's right hand man. So Ben hides in a closet and webs the door shut. And from here he learns Silvermane's interested in Flint as well. In fact, Flint works for Silvermane. It comes out later while Winston and Silvermane are talking that Silvermane's main interest is that wondering if Addison and Flint are connected in some way, if they both have abilities, and maybe there's more, and these could be people that they might want to have control of. Oh, and the mayor, who's running for re-election, is starting a campaign of ending prohibition, which is interesting because there is a shipment of whiskey coming from Canada that Silvermane has ordered, so that'll come up later. Well, Janet, his secretary, has gone to police headquarters and using her skilled negotiations, basically a delicatessen sandwich to the desk sergeant, gets Flint's record. Quite the criminal. And yes, it's listed in there. He does work for Silvermane. So Ben goes to see Kat after hours at the club. He's kind of upset she didn't tell him about Silvermane, but she rather correctly assumes if she had, he wouldn't have taken the case. Turns out Silvermane owns the club, so she also works for him. Ben then returns to his apartment where he is attacked by two of Silvermane's thugs. They're going to take him to see Silvermane. And if he tells them the truth, then he don't know nothing. Nothing to worry about. Ben don't like that, so he beats them up and jumps out of their car and escapes underneath the bridge. Then he goes to warn Robbie. You know, this is getting deeper and deeper into Silvermane territory. Perhaps you should drop the story about Addison's death. Nope, he's not going to do it. In fact, he goes to the dilapidated shack down on Skid Row that Addison's wife happens to live at. She's not there, but Addison's friend Lonnie is. Huge man. He's devastated to hear that Addison's dead. And he says that if Robbie wants to see the widow, you should go to the Jefferson Hotel. Well, meanwhile, back over at Ben's office, the two thugs from the night before come in, trash the place, and threaten Janet. This causes Janet to quit, as she tells Ben, I love you, Ben, but I'm not going to die for you. Well, Robbie's been constantly getting on him about, hey, you got to bring the spider back. People need the hero. You need to bring out the spider. He's having a crisis of conscience here. But he eventually goes back to his old apartment, which has new people living in it, cons his way in pretending to be a plumber in what I find to be a hilarious bit that calls back Humphrey Bogart's similar styled bit in The Big Sleep, where he goes into a bookseller and he's got this kind of high pitched voice and he's with these glasses. And that's kind of what Nicolas Cage is doing here. And as he goes in, smashes a huge hole in the wall and grabs his coat, hat, and mask of the spider, which is in a box, and goes out the window because he's made an awful lot of noise and the people are getting suspicious, and they're just like, what the heck happened in here? It's just a big hole in the wall. Well, Robbie sneaks into the Jefferson Hotel because being a black man, being the 30s, he may be a reporter, but he's still not going to be let in the front door of a high-class establishment like that. So he sneaks in and goes to Mrs. Addison's room. She's don't want to talk to him. She's going to scream and he'll get arrested. And he says, that's fine, but it'll turn out that probably get back to Silvermane, that Addison, who was hired to burn down his mansion and maybe kill him, and the man's wife is living here on a bunch of money. So she lets him in. And turns out she already knew Addison was dead because he didn't come back, and he's not the one to cut and run. But she's not going to tell Robbie who hired him. She's not that dumb. Basically, rocking a hard place. If she tells Robbie, it'll get back to the guy that hired him, and he'll probably take out her. And if she doesn't, it might get back to Silvermane, but she's going to take that chance instead. But he does learn that just like Flint, Addison's fire powers started coming in about 6 months earlier. And so he decided to make a living as an arsonist. Meanwhile, Lonnie goes to see Flint. Flint is not in good shape. Patches of him are sand. He's having trouble reverting back to total human. Turns out Lonnie also has an ability, but we don't know what that is yet. And he convinces Flint to go, hang out at his place. He can take care of him, look after him. It's better to be together. Two, together instead of one apart. Well, Winston goes to the dock where he checks over the merchandise. All good. Calls Silvermane. It's all good. You can come in. So Silvermane and his men start to head down to the docks. When who should appear? The spider. And he stops the cars, just whips all the thugs. I mean, just mops the street with them. Then he gets in the car with Silvermane. And Silvermane offers him a drink, which he refuses. And it comes down to this: Ben Riley did a favor for the spider once. Now, he was happy to stay away and let Silvermane do what he does, but he owes Ben. So he tells Silvermane, you don't bother him. And you sure as heck don't go around threatening secretaries. And if anything happens to either one of them, he will come back and he will end Silvermane's life. And then he leaves. Later, back at his office, he gets a call from Robbie, who's down at the docks. He says, are you the one that prevented Silvermane from getting to the docks? And he's like, why do you ask? Well, turns out that whole Canadian shipment of illegal whiskey was actually a sting operation by the police. In fact, the police are in a shootout right there, and you can hear them over the phone while the two are talking. So whoever prevented Silvermane from getting there not only stopped him from getting arrested, but might have even saved his life. And all Ben can do is stare at the phone he's hung up and say, what have I done? Yeah. Unforeseen circumstances. Another good episode. Finally got to see the spider in action, and it was well worth the wait. Still digging that Humphrey Bogart-ish voice that Nick Cage uses. It isn't a direct imitation, as I said, but there's an interesting bit of a slur to it that I'm enjoying. There's a lot of clever dialogue, especially between him and Cat. Reminds me a bit of the Bogey and Bacall repartees from The Big Sleep Again. And I do find it interesting that they just call him the Spider, because being a big fan of pulp heroes as well as comic book heroes, there was a pulp hero called the Spider. He came out after the Shadow, and he wore a mask and a cape. And throughout the run of the series, there were different incarnations. He sometimes had a hunchback, sometimes he had fangs, sometimes you have a domino mask, sometimes it would be something else. It just kind of whatever. He was also crazy, in which the Spider was a distinct personality. His regular guise of Richard Wentworth was a distinct personality, and there may have been a third one, kind of like Moonlight. And not only that, but his girlfriend had a bit of a split personality herself. And there were some adventures where she took over the Spider's guise and truly believed she was the Spider. So I'm wondering if they took any of this as inspiration for their own series of Spider Noir. Be interesting to find out as the thing progresses. But another good episode. Really liking it. You actually get to see Ben Riley do some actual detective work, which he didn't do a lot of the first episode. He was too busy trying to avoid things. But now that he's kind of being pulled in, always like a reluctant hero, you can see that, yeah, he was a good detective. Well, that's about all for this. Please hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.